Virion Station was always full of life. Ships came and went, carrying travelers from many worlds. Lights glowed across the long walkways. Voices of many species mixed together. In all this noise, an elderly alien named Aretha walked slowly with a small bag held close to her chest. Her steps were calm, but anyone who looked closely could see she was tired. She had been walking for hours, trying to reach the council building on the upper level of the station. Inside the bag was something important. She looked down at it again and again, making sure it was still safe. The bag was woven with energy threads that shimmered faintly. Aretha knew she had to protect it. It was her duty, one she had carried for many years. Even if she moved slowly, she did not stop. She kept walking, whispering gentle words to herself as she passed the busy market. Across from her, a young human named Callan Ward walked in the opposite direction. He wore a simple gray uniform stained with small marks of machine oil. He had just finished repairing a ventilation unit in the lower sector. Callan was not strong or rich. He was a normal young man who worked long hours fixing broken machines. Even though his day had been tiring, he still smiled at the people passing by. He enjoyed seeing new species and hearing different languages. It made him feel like he was part of something bigger than his small job. As Aretha walked near a narrow alley, 3 tall alien figures moved out from the shadows. They were part of a small gang known as the Orcs' Talons. Many people feared them because they often stole from travelers who looked weak. The gang members had dark scales on their arms and sharp eyes that glowed softly. One of them spoke in a low voice and nodded toward Aretha. They walked quickly toward her. She noticed them too late. Before she could step back, one of the thugs grabbed her bag and pulled it away from her. She let out a soft cry. Her hands trembled as she reached for the bag, but the thug pushed her gently to the side and ran off with the other 2. People saw what happened. Many looked shocked but did not move. Some looked away, afraid of getting involved. The Orcs' Talons had caused trouble before. They were not the kind of gang anyone wanted to stand against. Aretha stood frozen, her hands still shaking. She whispered that she needed the bag back. She needed to take it to the council. Without it, something important could not happen. Callan had heard the noise. He turned his head and saw the old alien standing alone and afraid. He also saw the 3 thugs running through the market with her bag. For a moment, he felt shocked like everyone else. He knew who the Orcs' Talons were. He knew they were stronger than him. He knew they might cause him trouble if he tried anything. But as he looked at Aretha's shaking hands, something inside him pushed him forward. He did not think long. He just started running. The thugs were fast, but Callan was quick and light on his feet. He had grown up running through narrow corridors and jumping over broken pipes. His job required him to move skillfully through small spaces. So even though the alien thugs were bigger, he managed to close the distance inch by inch. The market visitors stepped aside as the chase continued. Some watched in surprise as a human chased after 3 large aliens. The thugs looked back and saw Callan running. They laughed at first. They could not understand why a human would chase them. To them, humans were small and not very strong. They thought he would give up soon. But Callan did not stop. He kept running until he saw a wide walkway ahead, a place where he could try something. He sprinted harder and managed to reach the walkway before the thugs. He took a deep breath, then slid across the smooth floor, stretching his leg out at the last moment. The first thug did not see it in time. His foot hit Callan's shoe, and he fell forward with a loud crash. The second thug stumbled over him. The third tried to jump aside, but tripped over both of them. All 3 landed in a messy pile. The crowd gasped. No one expected a human to bring down 3 members of the Orcs' Talons. Callan pushed himself up and quickly grabbed the fallen bag before the thugs could rise again. He held it tightly and ran back toward Aretha. Aretha was still standing where she had been pushed. Her eyes widened when she saw Callan running toward her with the bag. She reached out with trembling hands as he placed it back into her grip. She held it close to her chest again and took a deep breath. A soft glow came from the energy threads woven into the bag. It seemed almost alive. Callan looked at her kindly and asked if she was all right. She nodded slowly, but she still looked worried. She thanked him in a gentle voice, and Callan felt warmth in his chest at her gratitude. Before Callan could say anything more, the thugs stood up again. They brushed themselves off and stared at him with anger. They had never been tripped by anyone, especially not by someone as small as a human. They started walking toward Callan and Aretha. The air felt heavy. Some people stepped back, expecting trouble. Callan clenched his fists. He knew he could not fight them. He knew he could get hurt. But he also knew he could not run now. He had returned the bag to Aretha, and he wanted to protect her if he could. He stood in front of her without thinking about his own safety. The lead thug pointed at Callan and said that he had made a mistake. Callan felt nervous, but he stayed where he was. He told the thug that the bag did not belong to him and that they should leave the old alien alone. His voice trembled a little, but his eyes did not look away. The thugs stepped closer. But before anything more could happen, Aretha held up her hand. Her voice, though soft, carried a strange strength. She told the thugs that stealing the bag was dangerous even for them. She said they did not understand what they had tried to take. Her tone made the thugs hesitate for a moment. Callan looked at the bag again and noticed it glowing more brightly now. He asked her gently what was inside. Aretha hesitated, as if unsure whether to tell him. Then she slowly opened the bag, just enough for Callan to see. Inside was a small crystal sphere that shone like a tiny star. Light pulsed gently inside it, like a heartbeat. The air around it felt warm and peaceful. Callan stared in wonder. He had never seen anything like it before. Aretha explained in a quiet voice that the sphere was a starseed. It was something ancient and rare, created long ago to help save dying worlds. It could bring life and heal damaged land. She had been carrying it to the council so they could decide which world needed it most. If it fell into the wrong hands, it could cause chaos. She said that even the thugs did not know its true value. Callan listened carefully. He never imagined that he would hold such knowledge in a normal day. He looked at the thugs again. They seemed confused. They had not expected anything like this. They just wanted something that looked valuable. Now they were unsure what to do. The lead thug stepped forward again, but his steps were slower. Callan could see that the thug was not as confident as before. Aretha closed the bag again and held it tight. She stepped slightly behind Callan, trusting him even though she had just met him. The crowd had grown larger. People whispered to each other. Some were amazed that a human stood up to the Gark's talons. Others were surprised that the old alien carried something so powerful. The guards had not arrived yet, but they would come soon, drawn by all the noise. The thugs looked around and saw the growing attention. They did not want to be surrounded by too many witnesses. The lead thug growled softly and stepped back. He told Callan that this was not finished. Then he motioned to the others, and the three of them walked away. They disappeared into the crowd, but not without glancing back with frustration. Callan let out a long breath. His legs felt weak after all the tension. He turned to Aretha and asked if she was safe now. She nodded and smiled warmly, her face full of relief. She thanked him again, saying she did not expect a human to show such courage. Callan laughed softly and said he was not brave, just quick, but Aretha shook her head gently. She said that courage was not about size or strength. It was about standing up at the right moment. She told him that he had done more than most others would have done. Callan felt a little embarrassed. He scratched the back of his neck and smiled shyly. Aretha then said she needed to reach the council as soon as possible. The starseed had to be delivered safely. She hesitated and then asked Callan if he could walk with her for a while. She was still shaken and felt safer with him nearby. Callan agreed without hesitation. He walked beside her as she moved through the market once more. The people around them watched with new respect. Some even nodded at Callan as he passed. He felt surprised but also proud. He did not think his small act would mean so much. As they walked, Aretha told him more about the starseed. She explained how it had been created by ancient beings long before most modern species traveled through space. It had the power to restore the land of a dying moon or heal forests destroyed by storms. It was a symbol of hope, something that reminded different worlds that life could always begin again. Callan listened with full attention. He felt amazed that he had played a part in protecting something so important. He looked at Aretha and felt a sense of respect for her. She had carried this responsibility alone for so long. Now he understood why she looked tired earlier. They reached a lift that would take them to the upper levels. Callan pressed the button for her. She stepped inside and turned toward him. She told him that she could continue safely from here. She thanked him again and wished him a bright path ahead. Callan smiled and wished her well. He watched as the lift doors closed. Then he turned to walk back to his workplace. He felt like his day had changed in a way he did not expect. He thought about the starseed and Aretha's words. He wondered if the thugs would return and cause more trouble. As he walked through the market once more, he did not notice that a pair of glowing eyes watched him from a distance. One of the Gark's talons stood hidden in a corner, studying him carefully. The thug took a deep breath and then walked away to inform the others. Callan continued walking, unaware of the danger still waiting for him in the shadows. Callan walked through the busy walkway of Virion Station with a thoughtful look on his face. He kept replaying everything that had happened in his mind. He had started the day like any ordinary worker, fixing broken machines and cleaning dusty vents. He never expected to chase a gang, trip 3 thugs at once, return an important bag, and learn about something as rare as a starseed. The more he thought about it, the more unreal it felt. He finally reached the small workshop where he worked. The room was filled with spare parts, loose wires, and tools scattered everywhere. His supervisor, a 4-armed alien named Dremo, looked up with a confused expression when Callan entered. Dremo asked him why he was late returning from the market job. Callan opened his mouth to explain, but he realized there was no short way to tell the story. He just said he helped someone in trouble. Dremo grumbled something about humans getting distracted too easily, but did not ask further questions. Callan sat down on his stool and tried to focus on repairing a power regulator, but his thoughts kept drifting. He wondered if Aretha had reached the council safely. He wondered what decisions they would make about the starseed. He also wondered if the Gark's talons would come after him. The look they gave him earlier still lingered in his mind. Far away from the workshop, on a higher level of the station, Aretha stepped out of the lift. She walked slowly but with steady determination. She held the bag close to her chest, grateful that it had remained safe. As she moved toward the council chamber, she kept thinking of the young human who had helped her. She wished she had more time to thank him properly. When she reached the doors of the council room, 2 guards stepped aside respectfully. They recognized the energy threads of her bag and understood the importance of her visit. Aretha entered the tall, bright chamber, filled with soft blue light. The council members, representing several species, turned to her as she approached the center of the room. She opened the bag and showed them the starseed, its gentle glow filling the chamber. She explained the danger she faced and the help she received from an unexpected source. She spoke about Callan, the human who decided to run after the thieves when no one else did. Her voice carried deep gratitude. Some council members looked surprised that a simple technician would risk himself for someone he did not know. As she spoke, her tone became serious. She told the council that the Gark's talons had tried to steal the starseed and could try again. The council members discussed the matter quietly. They agreed that the gang must not be allowed near anything so valuable. They also agreed that Aretha should not travel alone anymore. The council leader asked Aretha if she knew where the human worker was now. She said she believed he had returned to his duties. The council decided that Callan should be brought to them so they could thank him and also ask for his help in protecting the starseed during its final mission. Meanwhile, in the lower market sector, the Gark's Talons gathered in a shadowed room behind an abandoned shop. The three thugs Callan had tripped sat together, still frustrated and embarrassed. They had never been defeated by a human before, especially not by someone smaller and unarmed. Their leader growled with impatience as he paced across the room. One of the thugs explained that the old alien had mentioned something powerful inside the bag. They described the glowing sphere that looked like a living star. The leader's eyes narrowed with interest. He realized that whatever that object was, it was worth more than he had imagined. He decided that they should follow the old alien and take the starseed again. But this time, they would avoid the crowd and act carefully. One of the gang members added that they should also deal with the human who caused them trouble. The leader agreed, saying the human made them look weak in front of everyone. They would not allow that insult to go unanswered. If the human kept interfering, it would make stealing the starseed harder. They made a plan and prepared to move. Back in his workshop, Callan finally finished repairing the power regulator. He stretched his arms and decided to take a short break. He walked toward the station window and looked out into the deep space beyond. Stars glowed like tiny dots, and ships flew slowly in and out of the docking gates. The sight always made him feel calm. No matter how big the universe seemed, he liked being a tiny part of it. Suddenly, he heard footsteps behind him. When he turned, he saw two station guards standing in the doorway. Drimmo looked surprised as well. The guards approached Callan and asked if he was the human who helped an elderly alien recover her stolen bag. Callan nodded a little nervously, unsure if he had done something wrong. Instead, the guards told him that the council requested his presence. Callan blinked in confusion. He could not imagine why the highest leaders on the station wanted to see him. Doraimo muttered something about humans finding strange ways to get attention. The guards asked Callan to follow them, and he walked behind them, feeling a mixture of confusion and worry. The guards escorted him up to the council level. Callan felt small in the tall, echoing hallways. When he entered the chamber, he saw Aretha standing in the center. She smiled warmly at him when he walked in. The council members looked at him with curious eyes. Callan bowed his head, unsure what to do, afraid he might say something wrong. The council leader thanked him for his bravery. Callan tried to say he only did what anyone would do, but the council leader shook his head gently and said that not everyone had acted. Many people had stood frozen instead of helping. Callan had been the only one who moved. That made him different. Aretha stepped forward and told him that the starseed was safe because of him. She also explained that she needed to take it to a restoration site on a nearby moon where the land was dying. She said the council wanted someone trustworthy to accompany her for protection. Callan was surprised when she said she hoped he would agree to go with her. Callan felt a shock. He worked with tools, not missions. He had never been on a protective journey, but he saw Aretha's hopeful eyes and felt a sense of responsibility. He asked what he needed to do. The council told him it would only be a short trip. Just to escort Aretha and make sure she was not alone. The official guards would join them later, but she needed immediate help. Callan took a deep breath and agreed. He said he would help her however he could. Aretha smiled gratefully. The council members nodded, pleased with his answer. They gave him a small badge that allowed him access to certain areas, and they told him to prepare for departure. Callan felt nervous, but determined. Later that day, Callan waited at the small docking gate where Aretha stood beside a shuttle. The shuttle was not big or fancy. It was simple. built for short travel between the station and nearby moons. Aretha looked calm, but Callan could see she was still tired from her earlier troubles. As they boarded the shuttle, Callan looked around to make sure no one suspicious was following. He did not see anyone, but he remained alert. The doors closed behind them, and the shuttle drifted gently away from the station. Through the window, Virion Station became smaller and smaller. The stars stretched wide around them. Aretha sat quietly, holding the bag in her lap. Callan sat beside her and asked if she was all right. She nodded and said she felt safe with him there. Callan felt his ears warm slightly. He did not think of himself as someone who made others feel safe, but he was glad she trusted him. The shuttle flew peacefully for a while. Callan and Aretha talked softly. She told him more about the star seed, how it responded to life, and could sense places that needed healing. Callan listened with wonder. He asked her if many people had ever seen one. She said very few had ever laid eyes on it. As they continued talking, the shuttle navigation lights blinked. The pilot announced that they would soon land on the surface of a small moon covered with dusty plains. The restoration team would meet them there. Aretha held the bag a little tighter as they prepared to land. What they did not know was that the Gark's talons had followed the shuttle in a smaller craft. The gang leader had guessed the direction Aretha would travel. They had kept their distance, but watched closely. When they saw the shuttle descending toward the moon, they felt sure the starseed was inside. After the shuttle landed, Callan stepped out first to check the surroundings. The air was thin, but the atmosphere was safe. He looked around at the wide, open land, empty, quiet, and peaceful. The ground stretched far into the distance, dry and cracked. It was clear why the starseed was needed here. The land looked like it had been silent for a long time. Aretha stepped out next. Her feet settled gently on the dusty soil. The light wind brushed against her cloak. She looked across the barren land and whispered that it could become beautiful again. She opened the bag slightly, and the starseed glowed with a soft pulse. Callan was about to speak when he noticed movement far in the distance. A ship descended slowly, its dark outline familiar. He felt his breath catch. He recognized the shape of the Gark's Talon's craft. He told Aretha quickly that they were not alone. The thugs stepped out of their ship. Their footsteps echoed across the quiet land as they approached. The leader pointed at Aretha and demanded she hand over the starseed. Callan stepped in front of her again without thinking. The leader looked at him with irritation, unable to understand why this human kept getting involved. Callan told them firmly to leave. His voice was steady, even though he felt fear inside. The gang members moved closer. Aretha whispered that they could not let the starseed fall into the wrong hands. Callan thought quickly. He saw several broken power nodes scattered across the ground. They were old devices once used for energy fields. His technician mind immediately formed an idea. He whispered his plan to Aretha and then ran toward one of the power nodes. He opened the panel and started reconnecting wires with quick hands. The gang members shouted and charged forward. Just as they were close, Callan activated the old node. A shock of energy surged through the ground, creating a brief gravity wave. The thugs stumbled and fell, losing their balance completely. Callan jumped to another node and activated it too. The ground shifted just enough to keep the gang off their feet. Aretha held the starseed, which glowed brighter, responding to her calm presence. Callan worked quickly, moving from one node to the next. The thugs struggled to stand, confused and frustrated. No matter how large they were, the shifting gravity kept pushing them down. After a few moments, they realized they could not win this. Their leader shouted in anger and ordered a retreat. They hurried back to their ship and took off into the sky. Callan watched until they disappeared. He finally let out the breath he had been holding. Aretha walked to him and placed her hand gently on his shoulder. She told him he had saved her once again. Callan smiled tiredly, feeling relieved. Moments later, the official restoration team arrived. They greeted Aretha and bowed respectfully when they saw the starseed. She told them Callan was the reason it had reached the moon safely. The team thanked him warmly. Aretha moved forward and released the starseed into the air. It floated above the ground and shone with brilliant light. The land responded. A soft vibration spread across the plains. The dry soil shimmered. Tiny green sprouts began rising from the ground, as if waking from a long sleep. Callan watched in awe as life returned to the moon before his eyes. When the light faded, the starseed gently returned to Aretha's hands. She smiled with deep satisfaction. The moon had taken its first breath of new life. Callan stood beside her, feeling proud and amazed. He never expected his day to turn into something so meaningful. As they prepared to return to the station, Aretha looked at Callan and said softly that humanity always carried surprises, small, unexpected, and full of courage. Callan felt warmth in his chest. He smiled, knowing he had done something important not just for Aretha, but for an entire world. Their shuttle rose into the sky, leaving behind a land no longer silent.